new sound. That Les Paul guitar noise turned the world upside down. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Not a damn thing I can do. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Now I'm gonna do it to you. Everybody loves the groove. You got to get up and move and take it into your soul. You couldn't tear me away. I need it every day. I love the rock and roll. It grabbed me by the balls when I heard the blues. Chuck Berry voted a little Richard too. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Not a damn thing I can do. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Now I'm gonna do it to you. I'm gonna do it to you. The music made me do it every time. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Not a damn thing I can do. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Now I'm gonna do it to you. I said, oh yeah, the music made me do it. Not a damn thing I can do. Oh yeah, the music made me do it. Now I'm gonna do it to you.
Great job. Ted Nugent, where's Ted Nugent? Where's Ted? Huh? Look at you. You doing well? You are a handsome devil. Thank you. Great job, Ted. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
And now, it's time for Ted Nugent's Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus. It's the physics of spirituality with attitude.
Oh, that's a pretty one. Hello, Brenkus. I got the physics of spirituality. In fact, my spirituality is extremely physical. Happy October 29, 2020. Brenkus, do
Wow.
you follow in the Spirit Campfire or what, brother?
I'm telling you, I feel so energized, so positive. I feel like tonight's a special campfire. Like there's a lot of warmth. You know, a lot of people are yelling doom and gloom and the sky is falling, but I'm not feeling that way.
You know, all day long, there's been a vapor trail flaming out of my bottom end. of nothing but positive spirit. Once again, Brenkus, I know I'm a lucky son of a bitch. I know I'm
and good looking.
God has blessed me with piss and vinegar and spirit, and the most important attribute of an American, intellectual defiance. I intellectualize any orders that might come from any source, and then my natural instinct, knowing a little bit of history of the human species, is that I'm defiant. But all those wonderful things that bring me great joy and gratification, once again, Brenkus,
yes,
your big, greasy, handsome devil, Motor City Barbecue flame-throwing guitar player, was invited by the great President Donald Trump to join him in Lansing, Michigan a couple days ago. And I know when I play my guitar, it really is, we talk about samurai, we talk about out of body, we talk about beyond the ether, beyond the physical world. When I play the national anthem, I always feel that. It doesn't matter what setting it might be, because the song has a spirit of its own. It is the heart and soul of an experiment in self-government. But something happened in Lansing. It was about 34, 35 degrees. The sky was pissing a most beautiful, freezing Michigan October deer hunting rain. So I was in my element. But there were over 20,000 Michigan shit kickers there, John, in this nasty, freezing rain, some of them inadequately dressed. Some of them had T-shirts on, and they're just soaking wet, icicles forming on their earlobes. And these people were so upbeat and positive.
Yeah.
And the warmth and the love that I experienced, I'm telling you, God bless the president. And I do pray for the great man. I believe he's sent here by the hand of God during very difficult times. But
yeah,
the affection from every man, woman, and child that I was zapped with, and I unleashed a fire-breathing, spiritual, flame-throwing, Star-Spangled Banner, where this old 1962 Gibson number 4, you can see that it's been fondly caressed and put to bed wet on more than one occasion. This has really got a lot of spirit. It's got a real voice.
Yeah. Ted, I think we have some pictures of this presidential rally. I'm telling you, nobody's feet touch the ground, and on a nasty, really, really shitty day, there was nothing but smiling, laughing, fist-pumping, dancing people for this great president. We're getting down to the wire. So I hope everybody feels that there is a divisiveness, there is a great divide. But if you believe in God, family, country, freedom, work ethic, productivity, sacrifices, and risk, that man in the arena that we've always talked about here, John, that you have put forth in your life, that everybody I know, my sons, my daughters, my brothers, my sister, my wife, Jermaine, everybody I know, my band, my crew, my management, Doug and Linda, everybody I know, if the Ted Nugent world was the world, there would be no bad shit. So I'm bringing that spirit from this unbelievable honor and the humility I feel to be invited into that arena of such wonderful families. I'm bringing that to the Spirit Campfire. And by the way, Brenkus, you always bring that to this Spirit Campfire. So God bless America. God bless the shit kickers out there. What a great, great experience I have every day. You know what, Ted, I got to say something. And I'm going to say this really clear to everyone. I'm really proud. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be gathered around this campfire.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud. And I mean this seriously. I'm really proud to call you a friend. Like I feel as though you find out what people are made of when a little bit of pressure is applied. And we both in our lives have met lots of people who express their opinions one way or the other. And you and I came together over Memorial Day weekend, and we are still going strong.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because at our core, we're positive loving human beings. And it sounds corny, but it's true.
We focus on the good. We know there's bad and ugly, and we keep fighting. In fact, I'd like everybody, I got a book here that I'm so honored to have written the foreword to. This is a great American legend. You really study what Sheriff Joe Arpaio has represented. This guy has dedicated himself to putting literally his life on the line for his whole life in dangerous conditions around the world, unarmed, undercover for the United States of America, drug interdiction and catching bad guys, rapists and murderers and carjackers and child molesters and traffic. You got to read this book. It's called Sheriff Joe Arpaio, an American Legend. And not just because I wrote the foreword. And once again, how did I ever deserve that? But Joe said I did, so Joe's the boss. But here's another one for you. I don't read a lot of books. I write books, and I don't listen to a lot of music. I make music, and I don't buy a lot of meat. I kill my own meat. So I'm an independent guy. But there's another book that I just got wind of by Bill O'Reilly, who seems to have a #1 seller every year. But it's called Killing Crazy Horse. I've always referenced Cochise, Geronimo, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, these great Native American warriors. And the book articulates that we got here today, John, through a lot of blood and guts and scalps and attacks and wars. Everybody should pick up the new book by Bill O'Reilly. It's called Killing Crazy Horse, the history of the conflict with the Native Americans that I believe was totally unnecessary. So there's a little Uncle Ted tech tip on how to be fully prepared to take on the battles ahead. But #1, I hope you've all registered and that you all vote. And I think the choice is clear. It's freedom with Donald Trump, and it's Marxism with Joe Biden. I can't hold back anymore. Yes, this is the Spirit Campfire. We're celebrating positive, but that's about as positive as you can get, is to vote for Donald Trump, because what he represents is positive, and the Democrat Party isn't even the Democrat Party anymore. They're crooks and criminals and gangsters and liars and scammers, and the media and academia and Hollywood. They are virtually untrustworthy. So we, the people, have to roll up our sleeves, and it's painful because we're so spoiled. The worst day in America is still a wonderful day, but we're going downhill so fast with the corruption and the deceit that I think we have to make a choice. And I'm going to just say, as Ted Nugent, I've done my research, and I'm voting, I already voted for Donald J. Trump, and I'm afraid I'm going straight Republican, because the Democrats are represented by Joe Biden and his family and Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff and a crook at the head of the FBI, James Comey. It's unbelievable. I'll let it rest there. We have an incredible guest tonight, and we're going to talk about rock and roll and hunting and the spirit of the wild with Governor Rick Perry. Now, we're not going to delve into much politics, though we'll touch base because he's made a career out of it. But he's a rock and roller, and he's a bow hunter. So we have a great positive campfire with Governor Rick Perry tonight.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I find very interesting is when you just said you're voting for Donald J. Trump, and Ted, you just went off and you said your whole piece. I advise everybody. I say, listen, I'm a registered independent, and I'm like, listen to me. I will listen to all arguments. I have big ears, and I'm willing to listen.
I'm a radar guy. I pick up on information.
You pick up on things. You know what? I wanted to show, I don't know if everybody saw this or not, but I'll tell you what, one of the great voices, certainly today, is Tucker Carlson.
The best.
Like, my God, is that guy. And that guy is not a homer for the Republicans, because he calls out.
Not at all.
Not at all. He calls out Republicans all the time.
Yes, and they deserve it.
I have enjoyed watching and listening to Tucker, especially his opening monologues. And I don't know if the other night, and I'm not, this is actually not going down a political road. This is going down Tucker Carlson had on Bobulinski, right? He had on Bobulinski 2 nights ago, last night. He talked about it extensively. And if I'm just going to show something on the screen, and if everybody wants to do their own research, they're free to. But Tucker Carlson Tucker Carlson did an interview with Bob Alinsky, who makes all kinds of claims about what Joe Biden may have done or may have not have done. But if you go to CNN's website, and type in Bob Alinsky and click all CNN, everything, like in perpetuity, it says your search did not match any documents. Not a document that says, oh, Tucker Carlson had an interview and he's totally full of crap and he's crazy and Tucker Carlson's terrible, or Bob Alinsky is, they're not acknowledging that it even existed. It's insanity. I'm like, when a giant, can you imagine if the Stormy Daniels story on Fox just said no searches? Like, it doesn't even exist.
That's exactly the same thing. Yes. The level of indecency and the level of pure evil to cover up. And let's not draw a conclusion. Let's not draw Bob Alinsky.
I don't know if Bob Alinsky's telling the truth or not, but it's a news story.
But it's information that the left and the Google punks are literally hiding. They're scared to death that America might get some information that counterpunches their narrative. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I know Tucker Carlson. He and I text a lot. He invited me to a debate many, many years ago, I think 20 years ago at Georgetown at the university there. And we've always got along. And he actually introduced me as his hero at the NRA convention, because I got the balls to stand up for the most controversial stuff. Because in history, and today more than ever, the most important things in life now appear to be controversial. God, family, country, law and order, independence, work ethic is controversial on what planet? So my friends at the Spirit Campfire, number one, thank you for being a part of this, but be sure, what's the technical maneuver they can pull, John? Push a heart and push a like and spread the word. It's up to us at the Spirit Campfire to outpunch the censorship of the Google punk. So we can do this, but we have to spread the word ourselves.
We do. And we do. And the only reason why I bring up this whole, type in Bob Alinsky on CNN site, go to the Washington Post, go to the Wall Street Journal, go to USA Today, go to MSNBC, and just see what comes up. All I'm saying, and I've watched the Bob Alinsky interview, as did 7.4 million Americans, which is pretty impressive. All I'm saying is this guy is leveling some major accusations that have a lot of documentation behind it. Now, is it real or not? I don't know. But the biggest, highest rated cable show on the planet broke some, it's news. Maybe there's something else to it. But to deny that it exists, to me, is beyond comprehension of how we as Americans have always had discourse. I mean, it's crazy to me. Can you imagine if Linda Tripp, when she was like, hey, I got this story, I hear there's this intern that may be doing something with perhaps...
Does not exist. This does not exist. No. There is no Linda Tripp. There's no intern.
No intern. There's nothing to see here. Not even, oh my God, these accusations are crazy, which they originally were called crazy. Turns out she was right. But,
John, you're absolutely correct. This is the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus, the physics of spirituality. And I don't feel any necessity whatsoever to explain what the physics of spirituality is, because our campfire tribe here, which I had an extension of that once again today at Sunrise Acres, a bunch of hog and ram killers and deer hunters, people from all around the country, mostly Pennsylvania, where, by the way, John, tomorrow I jump on a jet and I go to Pennsylvania. I go to Harrisburg and Pittsburgh with Donald Trump Jr., and then we go on Saturday to Flint and Traverse City, Michigan, with Donald Trump Jr., campaign for his father. I will be playing a fire-breathing, patriotic Blitzkrieg Star-Spangled Banner, and I will do some speaking presentations, just talking about the things I believe in. I've been around a long time. You can't fool me with fantasies and deceit and made-up stuff. So I will share my truth, logic, common sense, observations, and experiences. I won't offer hunches. I won't offer any presumptions. I will say, this happened, I was there. This happened, I saw it. I saw the document. I heard him say that. This is what this guy stands for, because we have film of it. And then on Saturday night, we fly to Kalispell, Montana. So I'm giving up some of the most important deer hunting days of the year, because by giving up some of my favorite deer hunting days to help Donald Trump get elected, I believe that I'm securing the future of the freedoms that deer hunting and private property rights and the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, the Constitution, the self-evident truths that give us this experiment in self-government, that's what I'm dedicated to until forever, quite honestly.
Yeah, Ted, here's what's really interesting. So if anybody's ever paid attention to the Spirit Campfire, we've been very honored that the Ted Nugent Facebook page and Spirit Campfire has frequently been the most engaged program on the entire
We had
Facebook
number
platform.
1 in the world last month.
Yeah, number 1 in the world.
Yes.
So what I want, if anybody's ever been in the Facebook room and you were trying to follow the comments, they usually go so fast you can't even absorb them. Tonight, after we're talking about suppression, the numbers go down exponentially, and there are almost no comments coming up on my feed. Look at, there are no comments. Look at, they usually go, and then you say something like, hey, I think there's some suppression, and all of a sudden on my feed, look, there are no comments coming up.
That would prove that my identification of suppression was accurate.
It's
All right.
crazy.
Well, Brenkus, I'm here to say thank you so much for bringing this up, but I concur. I've always said that Tucker Carlson may be the last and greatest real journalist that looks for information. He doesn't look for an agenda. He doesn't look for talking points. He looks for evidence. He digs. He scrutinizes. He's suspicious. Those are all American duties. We should be suspicious of any decree, any face mask demand, any social distancing. When the face mask will kill you, face masks will save you. Social distancing is important unless you're burning down Seattle. So I think on the Spirit Campfire, my battle cry of truth, logic, common sense, goodwill, decency, God, family, country, rugged individualism, work ethic, productivity in the asset column. I shared a campfire with 20-some guys today, guys and gals and kids. John, we're not alone, but if you watch the interview where Ted Cruz from Texas was interviewing or basically scrutinizing the Google punks, if you watch these guys that run these that run our lives with this apparatus, I've never seen a person whose demeanor and physical projection was more distrustworthy. That's just cocky, obstinate, arrogant. Yeah. He on one word he'll say, "Well, we don't suppress that. Well, we don't believe in that." You claim you don't believe in it. That's suppression, you dirtbag. These guys they're on LSD, I guess. I would think, allegedly, that they have massive chemical repositories in their otherwise sacred temple, and that their brains have been fried. They act like fried zombies. Now, we talk about that. Maybe Herbert can tell. By the way, we got some photos of me playing the Star-Spangled Banner in Lansing.
We already showed them, dude.
I had my Stormy Cromer, my Michigan Youper jacket, my Stormy Cromer Elmer Fudd hat. And the president this time, instead of saying I was a handsome devil, he goes, "And where's Ted Nugent? Ted, thanks for being here. Nugent's the only one appropriately dressed." It was a snot fest of freezing rain, and I had my red and black plaid Stormy Cromer deer hunting jacket on and my waterproof Stormy Cromer hat. And John, he was right. I was the only person properly dressed that day. Everybody else was freezing their balls
Look at you.
off. I'm walking to the stage right there.
And this is where, what I sort of see, and when you try to say, Ted, let's read the room, here's what I find really interesting is the president's going around. I mean, he's already the president, and we know he's running. These people, these American citizens, are showing up in inclement weather just for a glimpse to listen. Yeah. We know they're going to vote for him. It's not like people are showing up, right? They're just going to support. And it's incredible, the adversity that, these, for lack of a better word, patriots, because they're exercising their constitutional rights, are trudging through weather, through COVID, through whatever, to get to a place just to listen to the president speak. not, I mean, it's not like he's converting anybody. People are there participating, saying, yeah, you know what, I support you. I just don't see that energy on the other side of people saying, I'm willing to stand out in the cold and to trudge through whatever to go listen to what my guy has something to say. I just don't see that.
And I was invited kind of at the last minute. It was a perfect duck hunting day, but nobody at the rally. They stood out there for 6, 7, 8 hours in this nasty, freezing Michigan duck hunting snot fest. And none of them were dressed properly. But, you know, speaking of freezing Michigan duck hunting snot fest, we happen to have a guest on tonight at the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire with John Brenkus, a guy who understands the soul-cleansing essence of a freezing rain duck hunting snot fest. He's not only one of the greatest governors that ever lived and a great patriot and just a great friend, but Rick Perry is an absolute rock and roll shit kicker and a bow hunting blood brother. Rick Perry, welcome to the Campfire, buddy.
Hey,
I think you're on mute. You got to demute.
You got to unmute him.
But he's also
There you go.
so he has to have a little help with the technology, man.
Yeah, it's amazing I get on. It's amazing I can make this damn thing work, Rick. Rick, first of all, how are you doing?
Oh, man, life is good. Let me tell you, nobody gets confused that my timing's not impeccable. I left Washington, D.C. on the 1st of December of 2019, coming back to the beautiful Texas. My wife, 4 dogs, and the idyllic life that I've got out here. So life is good. COVID-19 in Round Top, Texas is it happens somewhere else. It doesn't happen here. So we're good. Life is good. You know, I was just thinking about when you were talking about that really cold, nasty weather up in Michigan and all those people it turned out. In July, we were in Midland, Odessa, Texas. The president comes in. We have this massive rally out there. Then we hop in a motorcade and we drive up the interstate, Interstate 20, which goes right through Midland, Odessa, and we go past Midland. We go down a state highway, probably 5 miles. We turn off onto a farm to market road for another couple of miles. Then we go up a gravel road to this site for an oil rig. And I'm telling you, Uncle Ted, every mile along that way, there are people standing on the side. This is July, right? That ain't exactly air-conditioned weather. I mean, it's hotter than hell. People are out there. It's 2 p.m. There are thousands of people. I'm telling you, thousands of people along that road just to be able to wave to this president and say, we're for you. You'd be surprised how many of those faces were Hispanic in that crowd, standing on the back of pickup trucks, on 18-wheeler floats out there, oil and gas jobs by the thousands out there. They recognize and know that Joe Biden will kill their livelihood, will kill the oil and gas business, and they're standing up. I'm going to tell you this right now. I think there will be the biggest shock on the 4th of November when they wake up and they figure out how many Hispanics that are patriotic brothers and sisters that are believers and are hardworking small businessmen and women that are going to go vote for Donald Trump because they know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not lying to them. I mean, when they say we're going to do away with the oil and gas business, when fossil fuels are going to be out the door, they believe them, and they ought to believe them because that'll wreck
everybody's life. You know, Rick,
everybody.
We've always provided a sanctuary on the Spirit Campfire. By the way, Rick Perry, my blood brother of the Mystical Flight of the Arrow. Meet John Brenkus, who will soon be our blood brother of the Mystical Flight of the Arrow.
That's right. I am going to come down to the gorgeous state of Texas and go bow hunting for the very first time with Uncle Ted. But Governor Perry, it is an honor to meet you and to have you around the campfire. I wanted to ask, one thing that we like to do is to kind of be above the fray a bit and to give people a little bit of a respite from all the negativity going on. I want you, look, you are a hunter, and Ted has raved about not only you and all of his other blood brothers who we've gone hunting with, but talk to me about the spirit of hunting and how that helps to center you and to remind you about what's important.
Boy, Rick's the right guy to ask that. He's the man who can tell you.
you know, for 25 years, I think 1990 till 2015, I lived in Austin, Texas. I moved out of a rural area of Texas, and I came and I lived in downtown Austin, Texas. Part of it, 14 of those 25 years, I lived in the governor's mansion. And so I was downtown, and I missed being out in the country. So when my wife and I left, we're 75 miles from Austin. We're like 85 miles from Houston, right between outside, 3 miles outside of a little town called Round Top, population 90. And so when somebody's coming down the road between our little property out here, and I live on 60 acres with my two best friends from college. We made a deal in 1972. We'd live in close proximity and run a beer and bait store when we got through doing whatever we were doing in life. So here we are. General Weber, he stayed 37 years in the beloved Marine Corps. Tommy went to the Marine Corps and stayed for 4 years. I went off to the Air Force and then did what I did. But we're back to we decided the beer and bait store is too much work. But the fact is, we live in the country for a reason. Out the back view today, I watched the deer come. I enjoyed God's great beauty of allowing a sunset that was stunning. I got to think that if there were more people that had that experience in life, that maybe the tensions would be a little bit less in the world. And so I live out here in God's creation and enjoying it every day, recognizing the gift that I've been given, the importance of being able to take care of that gift and that God's created. And man, we're growing some fabulous deer down here, Uncle Ted. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, that's what happens when you let landowners manage their own renewable resources.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Landowners always do a better job with everything than a bureaucrat in an office trying to determine deer population dynamics on a computer screen. I'd just suggest you work with concrete and metal and other debris downtown. Let the landowners, and that is true, John, there are more white-tailed deer in America today than ever in recorded history. There are more pronghorn than over 150 years, more buffalo, more elk than over 150 years, because hunters manage wildlife. We only harvest the surplus, which keeps the habitat in optimal productivity, which will be the ultimate support system for next year's fawn, because the animals have babies every year and expand their numbers. The ground does not. But what's fascinating, Rick has reiterated what you've heard from every hunter. And by the way, everybody from Billy Gibbons to Ricky Medlock to Joe Piscopo to Governor Sarah Palin and Governor Huckabee. We've had just the greatest people, the greatest musicians, the greatest shit kickers on here. Mark Farner from Grand Funk Railroad. So many of my friends in the music industry and the politics and all different pursuits of life, they always use that healing element, the calming, that you will be a better everything the more time you're with God's creation, especially as a participant, killing that surplus to balance the herd, balance the land, and feed you the most nutritious, healthiest, fun to shop for diet in the world. So, Rick, one thing you talk about the incredible deer hunting in Texas, same goes to hog hunting's amazing, turkey hunting's amazing, waterfowl's amazing. It's just a wonderful state. We have Awadad. There's more Awadad in Texas than there is in Africa, which we got to work on. But Perry, right here live on the Spirit Campfire, I want a vow from you. I will give you a vow. I vow that before this deer season is over on March 1st, 2021, we will share a campfire. It's been too many years.
Yeah, you're on, brother. I'm telling you. As a matter of fact, there's a flag in a case. I just walked past it in my barn the other day, where I've kind of got a lot of my things left from my governor days. And my son-in-law, the Navy SEAL, you were coming out to do a party for them, a welcome home party back in, I think it was 2014.
Yep.
And they had a tragic accident, and we had to call it off, and one of their kids were killed in a training accident. But they had sent you a flag that they flew over there camp in Afghanistan, and I told him, I said, I promise you, I'm going to get it to Ted. It's just, it hadn't worked out. We've been busy. And so I know it's 5 years in the making, but it's coming, brother. I promise you. And that campfire's happening. I want to sit around that fire, talk about old times. And speaking of, you just reminded me of something. Scimitar horned oryx were on their way to absolute extinction. And if it hadn't been for Texas ranchers, they would be extinct today. And we have massive amounts of what I consider to be one of the most beautiful African animals. I think I just think they're a stunningly cool looking animal, and they're growing, they're doing great. And again, having President Trump in place with some people with some common sense at the departments that oversee that, and working with our state regulators. I mean, that's why it's so important for me to go out. I'm going to be spending the last 3 days in Pennsylvania. I'm headed up to Pennsylvania to be talking to, of all the states out there, people in Pennsylvania and Texas may be as much alike as any two states that we've got. I mean, the rural areas of the they're great hunters. They got an oil and gas industry out there, people working, making a good living. And I got great confidence that Pennsylvania is going to do what's right here on Tuesday. And
Rick, tomorrow I'm taking off from Jackson, Michigan, and I'm flying into Harrisburg and Pittsburgh with Don Jr. And then the next day we're going to Flint and Traverse City, Michigan, then off to Kalispell. So I'm on it full time. I've been, just like I did for your inauguration and some of your wonderful events there in Texas, I was proud to perform the Star Spangled Banner with fire. And Amen, that's brother. What I'm doing at the Trump rallies. But let me go into the minutia here, John, what Rick is talking about, the scimitar horned oryx. There was no hunting allowed in Africa. So if that animal isn't usable and you're not allowed to have value for it, they wiped them out so they could grow mangoes and avocados and chickens and goats. So Texans saw this beautiful white beige animal with brown markings and these beautiful scimitar saber horns, and they brought him to Texas in the 30s and then again in the 50s and 60s. And then under Obama, he implemented a law that was the same law that caused them to go extinct. He told the Texas ranchers, you can't sell hunts, you can't get rid of your longhorns and put in oryx because you can't touch them, you can't use them. And the response, the pragmatic, utilitarian, honest, scientific response of the Texans, well, first of all, we fought tooth and nail to legalize the renewable utility of the oryx, the Damas gazelle, and the addax, who were all extinct in their original habitat. Those countries had to come to Texas to get the animals to reestablish their herds because they were valuable as a hunting animal, so that a guy would go, well, I can grow cattle and goats, but I understand I can get $2,500 for a scimitar horn oryx hunt. Here, I'll take 6 cows and 2 bulls. 4 years later, he's got 29. He can sell 4 of them. He pays for those. They keep expanding, and instead of that habitat going for goats, for goats, they're bringing back these animals that are, number one, they're stunning. They're important, and they're delicious, and they're a great hunt like an elk or a moose or a caribou. But if they're not valuable, they're going away. So, Rick, we fought tooth and nail to get rid of that regulation because it was literally, here's how they went extinct. Under Obama, he directed his Department of Interior and Fish and Wildlife. Under Jamie Rappaport Clark, who now is the head of one of the worst animal rights anti-hunting organizations. She was in charge of the damn U.S. Fish and Wildlife, implemented a ban on hunting these 3 antelope species, which was the guaranteed system by which they went extinct. People are crazy. So number one, Perry, thank you for fighting tooth and nail with us on that, but we got rid of that regulation, and now the oryx and the addax and the gemsbok and the kudu and the waterbuck is flourishing across Texas.
I took a magnificent addax out in outside of Mertzon, Texas this last January, I believe. And I'm telling you, it is some of the most fabulous meat. I mean,
Yep.
I had a good bit of it made into to hamburger, and I got some Army Rangers that run a little ranch called Ranger Cattle Company right on the edge of Austin, and they raise Wagyu. And I told them, and this Wagyu is fabulous meat.
Big old horned cattle, yeah.
Addicts, if I put them side by side, the Addicts is a little more lean, but flavor-wise, I'm telling you, an Addicts is a fabulous way to get a little protein in your body.
You know, Rick, you've done a great job representing the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, we the people. You've always fought for conservative values, God, family, country, work ethic, productivity, the man in the arena. But as I was telling John before you came on, we have that connection because those are my politics. I'm a founding father guy. I'm a self-evident truth guy. I genuflect at the altar of those pillars of the American dream, which nobody else has. But I was telling John that not only do we have that conservative God, family, country politic battle cry, not only do we cherish the healing powers of nature as a hands-on participant, but also you are a rock and roll son of a bitch, and you really know your music, and you didn't ruffle feathers, you plucked him when you invited me to play at your inauguration. And I want you to tell the Spirit Campfire people, who by the way are all real music lovers, what is the origins of your music loving? Because you really cherish killer music, whether it's rock and roll, rhythm and blues. Tell us about the Rick Perry.
I grew up in the 60s. I grew up in the 60s. I was I don't think I was any different than any other boy in the 60s that were, got turned on to all of that British invasion and the boys that came along in the U.S. and played at that same point in time. We had a little band. I mean, you got to remember the high school, the school I went to was out in the country 16 miles. There were 115 kids, grades 1 through 12, right? So there wasn't a lot of choice for your bandmates, but we had a little band, and I played the drums and screeched a little bit that passed for singing, but I never let that go. And one of my favorite things in life is I tell people, in 2007, I got asked by Billy Ham, who was the manager for ZZ Top. This Billy was a fabulous guy. I loved him to death. We were great buddies. And they were shutting down the Compaq Center in Houston. And they asked me, do you want to come play with the boys to shut this thing down? And it took me about 5 seconds to go, yeah, I do. So I got a set of a kit to put over at the governor's mansion. I practiced. I didn't want to embarrass myself, right? And we went out there. It was their beer drinkers and Hellraisers.
Yeah, sure. That was their peak.
They did a great show, and this whole center had about 20,000 people in there. And the set went dark. They pushed up that extra kit, and Billy went up when the lights came back on. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen," because we knew what we were going to play. We were going to play Sharp Dressed Man, right, to finish this bad boy off. And he does this great introduction. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, every now and then this really, really sharp person comes along." He was ripping on Sharp. There's two places, if you're a politician, you don't want to be introduced, right? A hockey match and a rock concert. Probably not going to go well for you. So Billy, understanding something, he made the introduction. I ripped out there, hopped on the kit, and we tore it up.
What a riot, huh?
It was so awesome. So after we finished, the people were like, "Hell, he can play, man. God dang," and they were giving us a big old standing O, and it was good bull. So here's the rest of the story. That facility was sold, and it became Lakewood Church. Joel Osteen. And Joel called me up on the first service they had at the church. And he had no idea that I was there when they shut it down, like 2 or 3 years before.
Right.
He said, "Hey, will you come and do the service?" this first service, helped me do the first service at Lakewood Church. And I was like, took me about 5 seconds on that one. I went, yeah, I would.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, so that's a classic rock and roll story. I got to shut down the building that ZZ Top opened in 78.
Right,
and
right.
Closed it down in 07. And then I got to open it back up as a church a few years later. It was,
well, that pretty much covers every imaginable base in life, from a rock and roll beer drinkers and Hellraiser concert to opening it up for a
saving those beer drinkers and Hellraisers.
You know, John,
Yeah.
Rick and I and you, I think we see eye to eye. We were raising some hell earlier for the greatest journalist and investigative reporter in the world, Tucker Carlson. And we are at a crossroads. You know, we've been doing this Spirit Campfire, Rick, for many months now. We started on Memorial Day doing a tribute to the great heroes of the military, which I know we all revere, and we all know that freedom is not free. And we've avoided getting into politics because I fight it every day. We're all involved as experimenters in self-government. But now we're down to the wire. And I came out tonight and I said, I voted for Donald Trump. I cannot align myself with anything that has a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris or a Hillary Clinton. The Democrats, in our lifetime, Rick, my belief is that there is no Democrat Party. It's not like, well, I like the Republicans better because there's a few things from the Democrats that I don't think are as good as over here. It's not that way anymore. I believe that the choice now in 2020 is between Donald Trump for freedom, Constitution, God, family, country, work ethic, and Marxism from the other side. Am I overstating that?
You're not overstating it. Listen, one of the things I want to ask your audience to do, and this is some really scary stuff. What we're seeing with these social media platforms, Tucker had on a guy by the name of Greenwald today who resigned from The Intercept because they are not letting him report the facts.
Yeah.
When you get Jack Dorsey basically saying, I'm not going to let you go on my platform because I disagree with your position.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, folks, we are on some thin ice there. And here's what I want to recommend that your listeners and your viewers today. There is a Amazon Prime movie called Mr. Jones, and it's a true story. It was done in 2019. Highly recommend folks go. If you don't do that Amazon thing, I get it. But if you do, this is worth your time. This is worth the $2.99 or $4.99 or whatever it is, because it is a story about the Soviet Union in the 1930s and what Stalin was doing in that part of the world. And the fascinating thing about this is that there was a reporter who worked for the New York Times, I might add, who won the Pulitzer Prize by being in bed with the Soviets. While millions of people were dying in Ukraine, this reporter, because he liked being taken care of by the Russians, man, I'm telling you, we need to remind young people about communism and Marxism. We've seen Marxism on the streets of America in the last 6 months. And it's ugly, and it's ugly everywhere it shows its head.
Yep.
And you know, I can't tell you how important this election is. I tell people, this is what this is between. I grew up a Democrat. I was elected 3 times to the Democrat Party as a state House member. I switched parties in the late 80s when the Democrat Party left me. Well, listen, folks that were staying in the Democrat Party, I will suggest to you, it's left them again, unless you are a true leftist progressive. But we've got to make a decision. Are we going to be for the rule of law over here, or are we for chaos? Because that's your choice now, folks.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is an actual participant in the real Democrat Party when they represented alternate choices that were still American, that were still reasonable. We might not agree with them, but like I just said a minute ago, well, I'm going to vote Republican because their policies and ideas sound more responsible. And I don't agree with some of the Democrat stuff. It's not that anymore. There's no Democrat Party. I mean, these are the party of arsonists, MS-13. Nancy Pelosi tried to find redeemable values about the MS-13 gang whose battle cry is rape, torture, murder, and she's trying to rationalize why they're decent people. So they've lost their soul, Rick. I mean, treason, every time they open their mouth, I hear treason.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
Guys, so here's one thing that's coming through in the chat room. A lot of people are trying to figure out, and want to know from the good governor, how do we stay above the fray? How do we stay positive in this home stretch? And obviously, we're preaching to the choir here, around the campfire. What's the best way for us to, spread that positive energy beyond those who are gathered?
Here's what I tell folks is that you may have gone and already voted. I hope you have. We early vote in Texas.
I have
already voted. So that if I get run over out here on State Highway 1457 tomorrow, knock on wood, that won't happen. But my vote's in. But here's what you can do, and this is part of the democratic process. Identify those people that you know. Or maybe it's somebody you really don't know, but you just over the next few days, you run into them and you talk to them about why it's important for them to go be involved in this process. And, just listen, when this is over with, there's a number of things that are still going to be the same. God's still going to be on his throne, whether Joe Biden gets elected or whether Donald Trump gets elected. And in the grand scheme of things, that's awfully important to me. And so, but I do think, go out and get engaged more than you ever have in this civic process of getting people to go vote. Go explain to people why it's important to have the rule of law. We got to support the men and women that are out there wearing the uniform, keeping us safe every day. And I'm not just talking about the military men and women. Matter of fact, I'm talking more about the law enforcement and the firemen, the EMTs, that are out there putting their lives on the line every day in your community, saving lives. And these Marxists, they want to defund them. And so when we have a fire, when we have a burglary, or when we have a car accident, there's those great Samaritans are not going to be there to take care of our citizens. So don't you think it's kind of important for your children? And I'm going to switch gears just a second. I want to talk about economics before we leave, because I think it's so important for everybody to understand. Sometimes when we talk about fossil fuels and we talk about oil and gas, people go, oh, that's a bunch of rich Texans who are in the oil and gas business. And there are some people in Pennsylvania and Texas and Oklahoma and New Mexico and South and North Dakota that made a lot of money owning oil and gas properties, and God bless them.
Very popular product.
Here's what's so important, that this touches everybody. If the Biden AOC Kamala Harris plan to do away with fracking and to basically send oil and gas to its grave, here's what happens. The American Chamber of Commerce 2 days ago did the study on what happens if you stop fracking, and here's what happens. Your energy bills quadruple. Go up, whatever your electric bill was last month, do it times 4. That's what it's going to cost you, Joe Citizen out there. You're going to see gasoline prices at least double. Natural gas prices over a 300% increase. That's by the year 2025. I mean, Ted, this is devastating to the American economy. Yeah, this isn't just a bunch of rich Texas oilmen. This is about the Hispanic young man who's working out in the oil patch, who's for the first time in his life owns a home, has got a brand new Ford F-150 pickup truck, is planning on sending his kid to college and's got a savings plan for that.
And there's hundreds of thousands of them.
There's literally, and it will put a stop to that. Bam. So people need to really recognize this isn't just about corporate America, and it's not just about rich oil guys. This is about all Americans' cost of living.
What's pretty incredible is that I'm the kind of guy that loves to like dive in and, in a lot of ways like to be contrarian and say, is that really true? Like what, can I believe what I'm hearing? And when people talk about, hey, we're going to eliminate fossil fuels and that'll create a better carbon footprint. And by no means am I saying that this is the gospel or true, but everybody should just go on if they think that somehow getting rid of, gasoline powered cars is somehow going to, create a perfectly clean carbon print globally. You just have to like do the math on it, and then also just research articles like this one. I have an article that I can pull up. Type in electric car carbon footprint, and like just see for yourself as to whether or not And I'm saying this is from Wired magazine, which is a fairly reputable magazine. It's like Tesla's electric cars aren't as green as you might think. Go research for yourself and see like, okay, do electric cars solve this problem? And the answer is no, they don't. That's not bashing electric cars. That's just saying that this idea of getting rid of oil and gas somehow cleans everything up. That can't happen. Like if we end up trying to do that, we're going to create all kinds of other problems while we're displacing an entire industry. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, Rick, I got to tell you, it's a very special time of year in many ways. Number one, John and I have created a really positive, energized spirit campfire here, and it goes all across the world, even though the Google punks are suppressing the hell out of it. But we do spread the word. I still do media every day, and I just rally for truth, logic, common sense, goodwill, decency, God, family, country, constitution, law and order, the rule of law, work ethic, being in the asset column, that man in the arena, take the risk and make sacrifices so that you can be productive for your family, your neighborhood, your country, the good earth, your fellow man. So this is stuff that even a goofy guitar player figured out a long time ago. I cherish our friendship. I know that when I talk like that, that's you. That's the buddies I shared a campfire with at the Sunrise Acres pig hunt today. It's the guy at the feed mill. It's the cop that came up to me at Starbucks the other day. It's the sushi guys at the local Jackson Sushi Bar, which, by the way, Aka restaurant in Jackson, Michigan has better sushi than Tokyo. These guys are crazy, man. In fact, I got a contract with them when I die. I want them to slice my body into little edible-sized portions, and you can use that for bait on your next Canadian bear hunt. My point being is that the piss and vinegar, the positive spirit, the unafraid, unapologetic conservative values are alive and well. But with media, Hollywood, academia, and the entire gone with the wind Democrat Party, those forces hate God. They hate family. They hate the country. They think you're a chump if you have a work ethic because you can stay home and we'll get you a check from this guy who's dumb enough to work so hard. I'm not making this stuff up. This is a lifetime of monitoring and witnessing this stuff. So, Rick, I'm glad we made a vow that we're going to share a campfire. Hopefully, we got Joey Jones, the great U.S. Marine Corps hero. Maybe you and Joey Jones will be there when we baptize John Brenkus into the mystical flight of the pump station disconnect.
That's right.
Brotherhood.
Yeah, brother. I'm on it. Right. Show me vote 9.
All right, man. Well, God bless you, Rick. Right, my love to you and your family.
Hey, tell Shemaine, give her a big old hug for me, and Rocco and the rest.
She sends her love. She misses you. When we get back to Texas right around Thanksgiving, we're going to rendezvous at some point. I love what you do for this country and what you do for your fellow man. And I'm always here for you, and I have all the confidence in the world that you're always there for me.
You got it, brother. God bless you. Take care of yourself. Let's get this.
Right. Rick. Thanks, Governor Perry. Well, Ted, again, another amazing human being. One person that we need to thank is Patriot Mobile.
Yes.
We need to make sure that everybody gives Patriot Mobile some love. Make sure you go to patriotmobile.com/Ted. Patriot Mobile is the kind of company that stands for the values that I think most people have gathered around the campfire. So make sure you go to patriotmobile.com and show them some love. Ted, we're coming to the top of the hour here. A lot of people, the limited number of comments that I'm able to see because it's being filtered out, a lot of people really liked what Governor Perry had to say. Very similar to what Governor Huckabee had to say. Very similar to what everyone's saying. God, family, country. A lot of positive energy, a lot of positive love out there. And I want to tell you how proud I know that everyone around the Campfire is for what you're doing to help the president, going to really, perpetuate that positive energy. And, it's amazing how music and consistency, just being who you are, is something that people really gravitate towards. So I really just want to thank you for helping the president.
Well, thank you, John, but I do it on behalf of those men and women who approached me all through my life, because I'm a visible guy with a career, rock and roll, loudmouth, visibility, the celebrity thing. And even though it has some negatives to it, I take all the positives, that it's a communication opportunity. So everything that I espouse, all the beliefs that I articulate and share, they're not independent hunches. I won't make a comment about this till I experience this. I scrutinize this. I taste this. I examine this. I look into the foundation of this thing, this policy, this condition, this product. And then after I have adequate evidence and information, then I'll tell you what I think, and I will share the evidence that proves that I'm not just thinking and supposing. This is this. God, family, country, freedom, Constitution, Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment, the First Amendment. That's America. If you can't defend yourself, if you can't keep and bear arms, you are not a free man. And whoever took those rights away from you is your slave owner. So that may sound negative, but it's positive, because it's identifying a dangerous condition so that we stay on top of it. So I got a lot of inquiries here. I want to tell everybody that I write a weekly Nugent blog for Deer and Deer Hunting magazine. Go to deeranddeerhunting.com. I write for the Texas Trophy Hunters Journal. I write bi-monthly for the Texas Fish and Game magazine. I write for Adventure Sports Outdoors out of the Midwest here every month. I write for Outdoor Guide out of St. Louis. I'm a busy man. I write these articles. I share my observations and experiences, and that's what forms my beliefs. So I'm not a whimsical guy. I'm a foundational guy that won't give you an opinion till I have some meaningful evidence and information. So, Brenkus, I think you and I deserve each other. We're truth, logic, common sense guys. I want to thank everybody for all the support out there. We do have some of these wonderful hats still available. In fact, George Britton down in Florida, he's got a bunch of these hats. These are he has a bunch of these embroidered ones. You see what I put on that one? It says reelected. We may have some reelected hats.
Wow. Yeah, you might be able to,
I also want to tell everybody that we have this incredible buckler that I stink of right now. And I killed a giant buck the other day. My buddy Steve Casillo off in New Jersey, a great firefighter who was there on 9/11, he's created this concoction. You can go to signal11lures.com. I'm getting all these patches by the thousands and challenge coins from the heroes of the military and law enforcement, first responders. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled beyond words. They will go in places of honor. John, I will see you here on Monday. I will be doing rallies all weekend. We will have, do we have somebody confirmed? I think we have Alex Jones on Monday, is that right?
I think we have Alex Jones on Monday. Actually, was
Alex Jones. And on Tuesday, I will be 4 years later in Grand Rapids, Michigan with President Donald Trump on the 2nd of November, the night before the election, the final voting.
Wow.
And I will be there all evening with him then. So I'm a busy guy, but I'm dedicated to the future of freedom in America. I thank everybody for all their support. I've got my Birdland here, but I'm getting ready to case it up to go on the rally tour with Don Jr. tomorrow in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh tomorrow, and then Flint and Traverse City, Michigan on Saturday, Kalispell, Montana, Saturday evening, and then I'm going to bed. Then I'm going to go to
right. All right. Well, listen, everybody, stay positive, stay above the fray. Let's all stay, continue to love each other and love your neighbor and get out, participate, and do everything that you can. Ted, I'm going to see you on Monday, which is a big day. So Big day. God
Everybody
bless everyone.
Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Good hunting to everybody. It's a real special time in the hunting season right now. Aim small, miss small. And I will see you all on Facebook. I still raise hell because I am Ted We the People Nugent, living it up beyond your wildest dreams.